Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday podcast, brought to you by the Rooster Teeth store and Always Open, which went back into production as of the recording of this podcast. In fact, we had to boot them so that we could put this set back into place. Not me. People who actually work for a living had to do that. So
I booted them.
Did you?
Yeah, it's true.
You said, get the hell out of here?
Politely, in the Lindsay way. I was like, excuse me, can you please move? I have to do the podcast after this.
Our one-on-one guest for tonight is Miss Lindsay Jones.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you, Lindsay.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you did Always Open today as well?
Yeah, Barbara had me on. It was good. It was me and Miles, actually. So we got to talk about Ruby and going to conventions, a bunch of things that we haven't really touched on before. So it's a good episode.
Yeah, there's been a change for you pretty recently where you were, officially, right? You're one of the first people, if not the first person in the company, where it's like, we're going to focus on what you're doing on camera. And in this case, voice acting in the voice booth and things like that.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Yeah, your schedule's been nuts with cons and everything else.
It's been nuts, but awesome. I mean, I was just talking to Jeff about it. Like he was talking about seeing Ruby from the perspective of a founder and saying, oh, wow, like you were talking about that beforehand. Like we really had Red versus Blue. And that was the big, obviously, like Kickstarter of the company. This is how we started. Now we have this thing called Ruby. And it's like, wow, how is this like this entity become so popular? And we have this fan base now that we never had before. And what's it like for you to go to conventions? And I said, oh, it's awesome. I mean, now I get to hang out with like Barbara and Kara and Aaron, and we go across the country, sometimes internationally. We get to see these fan bases that we've never talked to before, and to see them and to know that they love Ruby is like, it's surreal. It's insane.
And I'm sure you get people who come up to you and talk to you, and they know the show Ruby, but don't know Rooster Teeth.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's a lot of things that you watch, and go watch a movie like, I guess there's more awareness of it because of Marvel and Disney and stuff. But you'd go watch a movie and you're like, who made Ghostbusters? Was it Columbia or was it Paramount?
I have no idea.
Yeah, or something like that. It's
like Michael was talking about, specifically me and him went to a convention in Australia, and you don't think about how close Australia is to Asia, but when you like take a second, you're like, oh yeah, it's right next to Asia. So you have a big influence from China and Japan, etc. So there was a big Ruby following.
Yeah, our initial sales that we had for Japan were originally handled out of Australia.
Yeah. And we've been working with Eric Cherry. He's been working with Hannah B. He's awesome. But we had a lot of people come into the booth and say, hey, like, I love Ruby, but I don't know what's this Achievement Hunter thing? And I went, wow, like, oh my God, people know about this, but they don't know Achievement Hunter. Like, that's pretty nuts for me to have that disconnect. But that was the first inkling I had of like, okay, we're really onto something. This is a big property here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's one of those things too where also you are a voice actress. So, and we dealt with that. The original founders all dealt with that, the original cast of Red versus Blue, because we started the show. It got very popular. We were trying to build this brand, Rooster Teeth, behind it. But then also individually, you're starting your own careers. People watch The Simpsons, just like you don't know what studio makes a movie always. Mm-hmm. You watch shows. You don't necessarily know who voices your favorite character. The internet has helped that, but it's like, you're probably meeting people who are seeing you for the first time as well.
Well, the same thing is like we're meeting people who see us for the first time, and like we've had that disconnect where people see our faces and like, oh, do you voice Ruby? I'm like, yeah, I promise I do. Like, let me do the voice. Okay, cool. Like then they know. All right, awesome. But I mean, the disconnect for us is like you guys again were there from the beginning. You know people who know Red versus Blue, but we don't have that. So I feel like I don't know, kind of falling into this like legacy, I guess, now with Ruby of like this.
Well, Ruby's going into volume 5 at this point.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts.
Yeah, by that point we were like in the final season of the Blood Gulch Chronicles. So it's like Ruby's such an interesting show though, because usually with the longer form series, we usually traditionally the benchmark was like about season 3. Okay, season 3 we know where the show is going to go or what it's going to do, and we're going to season 5. We still don't know like how high Ruby could reach. No, we really don't.
No, not at all. Like, we don't either. Like people have asked like the voice actresses like, okay, what's happening next? I'm like, I have no idea. We're not connected to the scripts anymore. Like we have some background to prepare for the roles, but that's it. Like we have no idea what's going to happen in the future.
Well, I do. From a storyline perspective,
and from a founder, what do you think about the show?
No, I was saying we have a really good idea for where the show is going, where the story's going. But there's always like the possibility of we've already added one spinoff series with Chibi. You know what I mean? There's also the ability to start other new storylines as well. But I'm just saying, in terms of the potential of the popularity of the show, you playing the character of Ruby in Ruby, your character, appears now on billboards in Japan. It's just like, you're all over the place playing this character, places that we never reached before. So yeah, for me, that's fascinating.
Well, it's insanely humbling. And again, like going back to conventions, is I get to talk to people like, Vic is a perfect example. Vic and Yuri Lowenthal, who now is Mercury on the show, is like, I used to watch him in 7th grade. And I was like, oh my God, like that's anime voice acting, that'd be the coolest thing in the world. It's never going to happen though. I'm never going to get to do that. And now here we are. And those same actors are coming to us going, wow, what's this show Ruby I'm hearing about? And we're like, I voiced this character in Ruby. Here's what we're talking about. Now they want to work with us. That's insane. I don't know, to be on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah. And Barb, I mean, you deal with people all the time as well, just through the social media job as well. And then you've also been, a personality in like shorts and stuff like that. Same experience for you going around as the actress who's the voice behind Yang?
Hello. Yes.
Hey, Barb.
Just sitting here in the darkness.
Sup, yo?
Yeah. I mean, it's been crazy going to these conventions, and like you were saying before, we've had I think it happened at Comic-Con for the first time. I was there at the booth signing autographs, and someone came up to me and they're like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "I'm Barbara." And they're like, "Who do you voice?" And I said, "Yang." And they're like, "Oh my God, I love Yang. What else do you do?" Like, they didn't know anything about Rooster Teeth or us or anything. They just knew Ruby.
Which is a good thing.
Which
I
is
mean,
a crazy
that's what
thing.
you hope for, actually.
Yeah.
You hope to have people discover, hopefully, all the rest of the stuff we do through Ruby.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little bit harder of a tunnel, I think, to get through to the
Right.
other stuff. But yeah, the Ruby audience definitely has some people in it that watch just Ruby. And that's
We've had a lot of people who've discovered Ruby through Death Battle.
Yeah.
The one with Yang. And just like very like roundabout ways of discovering the show. The coolest thing that anyone has ever said to me, though, and I think this was a convention that we were at together, Lindsay, was I used to watch cartoons all the time. And like me too, like I used to watch Simpsons and Family Guy and like all these different cartoons. And we'd look up to these cartoon characters like we're someone's cartoon now.
Yeah.
Like we're someone's cartoon character. And that is mind-blowing to me.
Well, someone tweeted us a picture of a Gal Gadot meeting a fan, and she was dressed as Wonder Woman, of course, and was like, "Oh, that's awesome! I like the Wonder Woman movie just came out. I'm so inspired." And someone tweeted us saying, "You're someone's Wonder Woman," and we went, "Oh my God!" Like that.
There's actually a picture that went with that. It was a picture of us at a Ruby fan meetup with all these cosplayers, and there's this little girl dressed as Ruby. And like we're both next to her smiling, and she has this like giant smile on her face. And someone put that next to the picture with a gal and that little fan.
Oh yeah.
And I
really?
about died.
Yeah, we started getting a little verklempt for sure. We're like, oh man, like this is inspiring. Like that's awesome. We would never ever think of ourselves as like role models, but here we are being able to like embrace that role. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we don't approach it at all like a kid's show in any way. There's nothing that we do in Ruby to approach it like that. But I think because of the aesthetic, I mean, there's some pretty violent stuff. Not to spoil anything, but Barbara, your character's been through some stuff.
I mean, literally, and again, to not spoil, but I will spoil, is like volume 1, Ruby like literally decapitates one of her enemies. It's like, that's kind of brutal. I was trying to explain that to my friends who have kids, and we have a lot of families that come up and say, "Hey, I love watching this with my daughter or my son or whatever." I'm like, that's awesome. You can get your family brought together by Ruby, but don't watch anything else that I do. Don't worry about Achievement Hunter. Let's just forget it exists. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Wide berth, Even
volume
bookmark it for later.
Exactly.
Like
Even with
10
volume
years.
3, it started to get a little more serious, as you said. Some stuff happens. And I remember because the show has such a like an audience that definitely skews younger than I think most of our stuff. So we did have to put out, I think Gray wrote a journal up.
It was a disclaimer. Like,
like, hey, things are about to get a little more serious.
Things get a little brutal. Yeah. But that's also interesting in conventions when we do it, where we're trying to be a little bit more PC or a little bit more family friendly. Yeah. And it's very interesting to balance between that and like our normal Rooster Teeth lives, because we're used to making like, dick jokes or like swearing left and right. And we're like, okay, we got to tone that down. We got to understand.
Mistakes.
Yeah. But that goes back to the whole discussion of like, this is kind of bigger than RT in a way, or like separate from RT. It's like we have to understand that this is kind of a separate entity now.
Yeah. I love that there's stuff that we can do as well with Ruby in particular that can't do with other shows. Like the characters are aging slowly as you watch the show, and even what they do in terms of costume and fashion and things like that, you're changing over time. You can't so much do that with Red versus Blue. That's a little bit harder.
You cannot. Well, people ask you, they're like, okay, what age is Ruby now? I'm like, she's 16 technically, and they're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm like, what are you creepy thinking over there? Stop it. No. She's not old enough for that yet.
One of those
Stop.
18
body pillows.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because it's also, we do deal with some things as we start to distribute and market the show in Japan, that there are just certain things as a part of culture in Japan, especially with, animated entertainment stars, that are just normal things to do. But it's like we find ourselves like oddly protective in like a way that we would normally be of real people, that we are of these four, main characters in Ruby, the way that they're represented, the kind of materials that they appear in, and those kinds of things. We watch out for that a little bit more.
Well, I'm hoping you can mention it too, but you guys said that upon the early discussions with like Warner Brothers Japan about dubbing Ruby as an anime, it's like, okay, would there ever be an episode where the Ruby characters go to a hot spring? That's like a normal thing in animes. There's always an episode where they go to a hot spring, and you guys are like, well, we're not really about that yet. Like, they're not old enough yet. But I'm like, that is again, an interesting discussion that you have to have because of the cultural differences. Is like, this is almost expected from the shows. Like, there has to be an episode like that. But for us as an American audience, an American production company, we say, no, we're not going to do that.
Slow that roll a little bit.
Like,
yeah.
But maybe one day we'll get
You could
there.
decapitate somebody
Exactly.
else.
That's
right?
fine. Yeah. Violence, A-okay.
Yeah, which is honestly, I mean, it's a little different when you talk about characters that are 16.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
it is one of the, always an issue is, I'm a parent. As I understand, you've recently become a parent yourself.
Yes. Surprise.
It's
yes.
one of the things, and Barb, I hear you're a parent as well. Is that true? Is that
Congrats.
rumor?
Have a food baby.
Congrats. Yes.
But I always get really frustrated by the difference between the way cultures handle, and I'm frustrated by the way we handle it, violence versus sex. Like, I mean, Walking Dead, you watch that show and it's like they're stomping on people's heads and stuff
I'm
like
totally
that.
in the camp of like, again, now being a parent, like I would much rather have my kid being exposed to like, oh my gosh, there's boobs on screen. It's like, okay, that's part of life.
Yeah.
People are going to have breasts. That's fine. People will have sex. That's part of life. But I'd much rather that than like horrible violence, which is like, okay, that's not technically normal. I guess you have these emotions that make you want to be violent, but you shouldn't do that to each other. Don't shoot each other. It's like, okay, I'd rather there be a sex scene that you're watching than like a horrible like Mexican standoff or something. But maybe that's just me.
Well, listen, can I give you a parenting tip?
Yes,
I'm
I was
sure you
gonna
get
say,
1,000 of these,
please.
right?
Yes.
So this is something though that really did work well
This
for
is
me.
solicited too. Bernie, what is your parenting advice?
Here's my parenting advice on that, on like content and everything, is that kids always age up. Like when you say, especially when we talk about some of our shows having a younger audience, it's because kids aspire to watch content that's a little bit over their age range. They want to do that. I used to sneak into R-rated movies when I was a kid. I did it all the time.
What was your first R-rated movie?
I think it was The Road Warrior.
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
Oh, actually, my very first R-rated movie I ever went and saw Star Wars, fell in love with it. I would talk about Star Wars constantly, drive everybody I knew crazy. It was considered to be a kid's movie, so all my parents' friends who didn't have kids took me to see it, and I saw it 34 times in the theaters. And then a few months, or I don't know how long it was later, my parents were like, hey, he really likes this science fiction Star Wars stuff. There's another one of these movies coming out we should take him to see. So they took me to see Alien.
Oh,
and I was,
excellent.
I think 6, or 5, and they took me to see Alien. And by the time we got to the chest burster scene, I was done. I was freaked out.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had no idea. You know what I mean?
Right.
Movies back then were they opened.
But you love it now, though, as an adult. Like, you love Alien, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, my father was the same way.
Some of them.
Oh, okay, yeah. My father was like, hey, watch Jurassic Park as a kid. And I was horrified. I'm like, oh my God, dinosaurs are going to come and like kill me and eat me. I know they're extinct, but I don't care. I'm a kid. This is terrifying.
Yeah.
Now that's my favorite movie. I love it to death. Yeah. So I appreciate that my father was like, I don't know, immersion therapy, like just throw you in there and get you used to the movie.
Yeah. I mean, to find out if kids can adapt, you got to give them something to adapt to.
I'll do that with
within
Iris,
reason,
too.
right?
Yeah.
But what I would do with my kids is as they wanted to watch, quote unquote, more mature stuff, like they wanted to like see something, that was a little bit above their age bracket range, their MPAA rating. What I said to them was, look, there's certain stuff you're not gonna be able to watch, you can't because it's R-rated movies or something like that. But if you want to read something, like read a book, that's the place where you can go to like expand stuff. You know what I mean? So if you want to read like World War Z, for instance, when JD was 11, I said, you can read World War Z and then we can talk about it.
Is it because he's creating the visual inside of his head? And it's like, okay, what do you think
I just want him
about
to
this?
read,
Okay,
basically.
That's fine.
So it was like, it's one of those cheats you have as a parent where it's like, I know they're going to like stay up till like 1 a.m. and watch something
Might as well be
after
reading about
midnight.
it.
Yeah. It's like, if I give them a way to do it and it's like, they can read about it. Because I read a ton as a kid. And I think by the time I was 15, I think I'd read every Stephen King book. Probably not the most appropriate thing.
Favorite Stephen King novel?
It by far.
Okay,
It's
good
either
choice,
It
good
or
choice.
The Stand.
Okay.
How about you? You Stephen
See,
King
I had
fan?
It and Carrie was, but I'm a female, so I identify with that too.
I get
like,
it.
oh fuck yeah, I'm going to carry all over the place. The second someone pours blood on me, I'm killing everybody. I'm done.
Well, Christine was a girl too.
Oh
girl,
yeah,
girl
sure,
car.
yeah, girl car. Yeah,
But
I'll be
yeah.
the car. Sure, someone can drive me. That's fine.
Barb, wait. So Lindsay just had a kiddo. Congratulations again.
Thank
Lindsay.
you.
I'll have a kid later tonight
Yeah.
No plans?
in my toilet. No plans for kids?
Food baby. That
No.
was,
If you wanna
borrow
that was a
Iris,
food
that's
baby
fine.
joke.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're catching up now. I get it. No, I don't think so. Which is funny because like I love seeing other people's babies. Like every time I see Lindsay, I'm like, please show me Iris, like right now. But no, I don't know. I feel like I'm too selfish of a person to have a kid.
See, I
Right
respect
now.
that though. I
Right
respect that and you said that before at a convention. We were talking about that. I'm like, hey, you guys ever want to have kids? Like, what would you want to do? And you go, no, I'm not interested. I'm like, I much rather have someone say, hey, no, I don't want kids, than just going, well, I guess I should have kids. It's what society
I
wants
guess
me
I
to
have
do.
to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, no, now you're fucking up that kid's life. You do you.
But
You
I
understand.
also understand that like never say never. And I'm not saying like I am never going to have kids and that's just the way it is. But right now where I am in my mind and in my life, I don't want kids.
I'd say okay. Yeah.
So I don't know if that'll change. It might not, but it probably won't. Sorry, Mom.
I was about to say, I get $20 from your parents every time I bring up the subject.
Yeah,
so.
Steven, if you're watching, you're carrying on the family line. So have fun.
It's not my brother, luckily.
Or David.
Yeah.
What's the chance that's going to happen?
What, that one of my brothers will have a kid?
Yeah.
Steven will, I think.
Yeah, his girlfriend Julie, actually, she's moving to Canada next month. She finally got approved. She's in the States, and so she's moving up to Canada. But I don't know if they want kids either.
Really? Why is she moving to Canada?
Might be up to my little bro.
Why is she moving to Canada?
To be with my older brother.
Really? She's making the move for love.
I mean, they've been dating, I think, 6 years.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Also, she doesn't really want to live in the United States right now.
Is that true?
Hey.
She has the option not to.
Exactly.
Got to make it political, Barbara. You had to make it political.
Oops.
How are you feeling? Are you feeling like your choice to move to the U.S. was a good one?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a very fun 6 years so far.
Nice.
5.5.
Welcome.
Made a lot of friends.
Nice.
Lindsay.
Thank
Lindsay,
you.
when did you start?
Appreciate it. 2011. I was right before Barbara.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you started interning right when like Michael started or so.
I started pretty much right after him, right before you and Gavin moved here.
Yeah.
And again, I was still interning. I was in what we called the dungeon, which was like me, Miles, Barbara, and
Fungin.
one other person. I can't
And Gavin
remember.
was there for like a day.
Yeah, Gavin was there for like a second. He was like, all right, bye. That was at the time too. Like I was such an asshole, but Gavin like dressed the same way as people from Dallas. So unfortunately I had like the sad, like, I don't know, like preconceived notions about him. So I was like, fuck this guy.
Yeah, Lindsay
I hate
hated Gavin at first.
Yeah.
Which is
like, I want nothing to do with this guy.
Most of us have grown to hate Gavin.
Yeah. But I feel bad now because like I know Gavin. He's fine. We're friends. But yes, he told me that his mom gave him some polo shirts for Christmas and he felt like he couldn't accept it as a gift because he knew how much I hated people with polo shirts. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like I made your mom sad because she bought that for you for Christmas and you had to go, no, I don't want
It's like
this.
the scene in Mean Girls where she gets hoop earrings for Hanukkah.
I did that. I felt terrible.
Pretend she didn't like them.
It's like, I'm sorry, man. I just hate dickheads from Dallas and you looked like one. I'm sorry.
I thought Gavin was replying to a tweet literally just now with my phone buzzed. I thought he was messaging me because he heard us on the podcast.
Oh,
and he
no.
said, I shot a yogurt commercial. I'm like, what the
Solid.
fuck does that have to do with anything? But he was just replying to a tweet. Totally different conversation. Confused the shit out of me, and I'm happy to pass along that confusion to all of you.
Goodness. Well,
but Lindsay, you came out of, if there's a traditional route for people coming to work at Rooster Teeth, if that exists, it's through TSTV. Do you call it TSTV or do you call it KBR9?
TSTV is what I call it.
I do
Texas
too.
Student Television.
Yeah, it was the student-run television station down at the University of Texas.
Yeah, and you started Sneak Peek. Yeah.
A billion years ago.
Yes.
The first year that I worked at TSTV was either 7 or 8 people. And then we did this massive recruiting effort. I basically pulled all my strings as an orientation advisor for the summer programs. And I went and talked to all the intro film classes, like people coming in. And we had, I think, like 300 people the next year. It was like the fastest growing organization we were part of. It's level that I think it was like 40 or 50 people on a regular basis. But what were you doing at TSTV?
Well, again, I was doing Sneak Peek, which was funny is like you started that and now I was working as a part of the show. Like we did the Office Space 10-year reunion where I interviewed Stephen Root, nicest guy in the world. And I was like, that's really crazy that like I did it with Brandon, who now works here, and he kind of helped me get the job along with Miles because I went to school with Miles. And then you guys, again, like were the frontiersmen of the whole show. So it's kind of weird how that all connects. But I applied the normal way. I said, hey, okay, there's an opening at Rooster Teeth. I kind of know about you guys. I knew the shorts before Rooster Teeth. They're Red versus Blue. I watched those on YouTube because I was a YouTube addict. And then I said, okay, I know Miles from school. Maybe you can help me out. And he asked Matt, like, hey, there's this friend I have called Lindsay who wants to work here. You guys know each other. Okay. And then I got a good word in and I started interning. So it's really weird how the networking kind of works. But TSTV is a huge part of that. And I really will say, like, you make a family while you're there of like film producers and like, I don't know, like creative bohemians who want to get together and just film whatever they want to do. It's
mainly a lot of self-starters.
It is.
Because if you go through the traditional film track, unfortunately at UT, it's probably like this in a lot of schools. It's a lot of theory. It's a lot of studying other people's work. But it's not until you get into the upper division junior and senior classes where you actually can get your hands on equipment, if you even can.
And I'll say it to the end of the earth is like, I feel like internships were the biggest, like the most effective thing that I had, or like the biggest reward that I had was from my internships. Like classes are good, but sometimes you're with people who like don't care about the class, or you have a class of like 600 people and it's really hard to get one-on-one time with a professor. But if you do internships like I did with Rooster Teeth, it's like, wow, I get one-on-one time with people who actually work in the industry. You have to meet the deadlines. You got to like adhere to all their work elements that they have to deal with. And it's like, wow, I'm really like a part of the work process now. I actually am like immersed inside of what it is to be in the production industry, which is cool.
Yeah. And sneak peek for those of you who aren't aware, it currently is still running. It's a movie review show. If you've ever seen the Adam Sandler video that's on YouTube where I'm interviewing Adam Sandler for Happy Gilmore 1 billion years ago.
It's kind of like Entertainment Tonight, I guess, is the best comparison. A little bit.
Well, it's changed over the years. I mean, we would just do straight movie reviews.
Oh, see, for us, it was like Entertainment Tonight. Of like, let's interview these stars. They're coming over here to do that movie premiere. Woo! Yeah.
We only had a handful of things like that. And it was mainly an excuse to get free movie tickets, you know, and be able to go to screenings and stuff like that.
What's the best screening you went to?
When I was in college. So there was a screening for a movie called Leaving Las Vegas, which is Elizabeth Shue and Nicolas Cage. And Mike Figgis, the director, came to the screening. And then this guy was awesome. I look back now, I now know that he was just basically doing anything he could to promote a smaller movie, which became very critically acclaimed. And he came to the studio and sat down with us for like 45 minutes and was like, talking through the whole process, everything. It was really cool. So that was fun. And the movie's great too. So
nice.
But then come to work here at Rooster Teeth. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I recall the first time you and I bonded, we bonded over College Humor hardly working videos.
Yes.
Like we both loved those a lot.
Well, that was part of my interview. I said, hey, I applied for certain like production companies and College Humor is one of them. And you're like, oh, wow, you like College Humor? I was like, yes, excellent. Good. We have somewhat of a bond. Yeah.
My favorite bonding moment personally was when Lindsay knew you were feeling sick.
All right.
Came into your office with a glass of orange juice and she said, hey, I heard you're not feeling so good. Handed you that
This is what's so bizarre.
Glass of orange juice. And then I'll let you finish the story.
So I'm feeling under the weather.
Yeah.
I had a sore throat. This is back when I had allergies really bad. And I just thought I was normally get sick for 2 weeks a year. So I was sick, feeling bad. In walks Lindsay with a glass of orange juice and says, I understand you're feeling under the weather. I don't remember much before I took the sip.
Lindsay also is the best straight-faced liar I've ever met.
Also, I have no experience with her lying previous to this.
Yeah.
Everything was like smooth sailing right up until this point. Hands me this pint glass of orange juice. I take a swig out of it. And what was it?
It was all eggs.
It was egg yolks.
Yep.
Yellow egg yolks.
Yep.
And I just like, it's one of those things where you take a sip. It's like that spit cup where you take one swallow, but you can't stop because it like draws some more in. Like, you know, it's like pulling other parts of the egg down with it. So gross. And then you just laughed and walked out.
Yeah. Like I should have been fired. I think about that now. I was like, that was the dumbest thing I could have ever done. Is I was like, hey, CEO of the company, have this cup of eggs, you motherfucker. And like, enjoy. But like, holy shit. Like I left. I remember turning around from giving it to you again, deadpan, like, hey, I heard you're feeling sick. I'm really sorry. Have this cup of eggs. Like, enjoy, man.
This is it. This is, you would fall for it too, I guarantee.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I turned around and I heard you go in the background. I was like, yeah, I got him.
What is the chance you think that you're going to fuck with Iris?
Oh, 100%.
Do you think, by the way, guys, done or more kids?
No, more kids already. Yeah? Like the second I had Iris, I was like, that's what that feels like? Okay, round two, let's go. And Michael was like, oh, let's calm down. Like, all right, let's wait a second. No, I'm all about it. Yeah. Like the first, I've talked about it before, but the first epidural didn't take, and that was misery. And that's what
is an epidural?
An epidural, to my understanding, again, like I'm no doctor, I'm a theater and film major, but they cut off the circulation to parts of your body so that like literally half of you down, you can't feel anything. So
I always thought they just injected like anesthesia in your spine.
No. From my understanding, it's not an anesthesia. It's you literally cutting off a nerve from having feeling. So then when they pull it out of you, it's pulling out a needle from your back. So it's all still intact. It's not any medicine that goes into you.
So it's like super acupressure?
Basically, yeah. And I have scoliosis, so the first one wouldn't take because they couldn't find the entry point because my back's all twisted and mangled. So the second one they were able to get, and that was fine, like smooth sailing after that. I was like, you can do whatever you want. I'll have 6 kids right now. I don't care. I feel awesome. Yeah, like let's go. But yeah, once I had that, I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like I would love to have a second kid, and I really want Iris to have a sibling to play with. And I know that's like, you can go tit for tat. My sister and I didn't get along at all.
You know, it's cheaper than another kid.
What's up?
A ball.
That's true.
A what?
A ball. Play with that.
Paint a face on it?
A pet. Yeah.
like a Wilson.
There you go.
Well,
Go on
so-
to handprint.
Spoiler alert: men can't have kids,
Yeah.
right?
Surprise.
Sorry,
Unless you're
sorry
a
to break it to
seahorse.
you. Actually, we can. We've been fooling you guys all this time. We actually can't have kids.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, but it's one of those things like, growing up, and then now I've got 2 kids myself. I've grown to be like envious of the process of growing a person and everything. But I also recognize that, and Joel talked about this in a bit that ended up being an RTA, is like the process of labor and having a kid is notoriously awful and horrible and painful, and like one of the things that like everyone talks about as being one of the most strenuous, painful experiences of their life. As you're like growing up, and then when you get pregnant, are you like, oh shit? Are you like, is this like on the calendar out there? And you're like, what is this going to be like?
Yeah. Oh yeah. For like months building up to it too. Like, of course, people are sending me all these horror stories of like, woman dies in childbirth. I'm like, stop doing that.
Dude,
stop.
what?
What the fuck is wrong with you? Stop. Yeah.
Stop, please.
But I was like, okay, that's a risk. Like, that's part of life. That's fine. But I totally agree with Joel. I saw the RTA. It isn't natural to have that kind of calcification coming out of your dick or a camera going inside of it. That's A-okay, not
But
natural.
with practice.
Yeah. If you're into that, that's fine. It's called sounding. People like that. But other than that, no go. Actually having the epidural work and delivering, I was totally fine. Again, like I would have had a million more kids, totally cool. Like do whatever you want, that's fine. So I can't agree with him there. Before that though, like go fuck yourself, Joel. It was horrible. Like I wanted to kill myself. I was vomiting everywhere and I was just trying to take a nap so I could forget how painful it was. It was awful. But I think that might have also been some of the drugs like accelerating it, because at a certain point they say, okay, you have to like have the baby. We're doing it now. So we're going to give you this drug to like.
How long are we talking about?
This was like, let's see, my water broke almost 24 hours before I actually delivered her.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
they said, okay, the water broke. Let's go to the hospital. I'm hanging out there for a little bit. And they gave me the drugs. They say, okay, let's accelerate it. Make sure your contractions start more. And that's when like, that's unnatural. That's when your body goes, ow, I shouldn't be doing this right now. This kind of hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the pain that I experienced. And I was like, no, Joel, I have to disagree. That was the most terrible pain I've been in. But after that second epidural, Joel, you're kind of right. You got a point.
Well,
but I'm on my epidural, so what do I know?
The scary thing is too, you can miss a window, right?
Yeah.
Like if you opt out of it and you're like, wait, no, this is terrible. I need it. I don't know what that is, but
that's what they said with the second epidural. They're like, we can try a second one, but if it doesn't work, you have to deliver this baby natural, and that's it. Like you got no other options. And I went, okay, like I'll try it. And I got lucky that it worked. If it hadn't, I would have been like, well, all right, like just got to push her out now.
Which is so funny because it's like how 99% of everything that's ever been born, 99.9%. Has been born naturally, and it's still just, it's amazing. It's the reason why we're all here, and it's like one of the most difficult processes. You think it'd be way easier.
Oh yeah, well
like
the
doctors pop out of your shoulder or something,
Yeah, even recently the doctors were saying like, I know so many like stereotypically Hispanic families who say like, I wasn't put under, I didn't have epidural, so you shouldn't either. I was like, wow, that's crazy that women nowadays are still having totally natural births. So like Griffin was the same way. She was like, all natural. Like, no, I don't want to. I'm good. Like, if you can make me feel better with medicine, I'll take it, or an epidural. Go for it.
Well, it's one of the things too that I've always despised about the pregnancy process. It's gonna sound weird the way I said that, but one of the things I can't stand is that the moment I would not, if I was pregnant, I wouldn't tell anybody for like as long as I possibly could, because the moment people know you're pregnant, they feel compelled to tell you what to do with yourself all the fucking time.
Oh, yes.
You know? And it's like, you mentioned Griffin. I remember when Griffin was pregnant, it's like I would be in the room or like we'd be out to like lunch or something and people would tell her what she should or shouldn't eat or, what she should or shouldn't do.
Oh, yeah, I got a few of those. Or even Barbara talking about like, even people who aren't pregnant, I get so frustrated with people who say, I don't want kids. And then other people just like forcing their will upon them, like, oh, you'll change your mind. Or like, people get pregnant accidentally. I'm like, stop. Let them do their thing. Stop. Like our brother-in-law on Michael's side, they don't want kids. They just want to be the happy uncle and aunt, which is totally fine. That's their choice. But their mother keeps like passively aggressively sending them baby clothes to be like, oh, one day you'll have kids. I'm like, stop.
Who's doing this?
Their mother.
Wow.
They're like, hey, you want kids, don't you? I'm like, that's kind of bitchy. Like to stop. Leave them alone.
No, that's weird.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm comfortable saying that's odd. That's odd behavior.
Very weird.
Yeah.
There's enough people in the world. I feel like people who want to have more people,
adopt
let
a
them
kid.
do it or adopt.
Yeah.
We do need more people, though. We do. We need more people.
Do we?
Well, I mean, yeah, we're dealing with a thing where, like every demographic, I think, except for Hispanic, is having kids below the level of the sustainability rate, which I think is 2.2 kids. It changes as life expectancy grows, because people, you end up with more generations as life expectancy grows. But yeah, you need. I think last time I read it was like 2.2 kids per family in order to like have a stable population. Anything over that you have growth, anything over that you have reductions over time. And we're definitely in the reduction territory for most groups.
Lindsay,
and,
have
like,
4 to make up for me having
I was going to
0.
say, all I've heard is that we're like way overpopulated. Like you should have 1 kid to reduce the amount of people that we're having.
Although
like a
probably-
China aspect. But
you hear about
Millennials are having less.
What's that?
I think millennials are having less kids. It's like some
yeah.
BuzzFeed article.
It's Tinder. Why?
Yeah.
Why give up Tinder?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, also we're not
For
falling
kids.
under like the expectation of having a nuclear family. It's like you don't have to have kids. It's like the end all of like you've reached the pinnacle of humanity. Like you've had a child. Hooray! It's like do whatever you want. Who cares? No, I don't know.
They should make a Tinder for people who want kids. Who just want to get knocked out.
You should. Yeah.
It's gonna happen.
Some
I just
people
want a baby.
put that on Tinder.
They like knock me up.
Really?
Or they're just like, I'm just looking for someone to settle down with and have a kid.
I want a baby.
Well, that's
And others who are just like, I'm just looking at
Baby daddy, please. Thank you.
It's so, guys. It's so easy now. You don't have to have the date to even figure that part of it out. You know what I mean? You just put it in the profile and like screen people out.
Yeah.
Why not?
The Tinder subreddit is a gold mine. You should absolutely go there. I also just said
I've
gold
read the
mined.
Tinder subreddit quite a bit. Yeah.
I meant gold mine.
Some, by the way, some female user on Reddit posted her profile, and I don't know if it's you. You could probably let me know because you have friends who use Tinder. I'm sure she posted like her matches or something, or her like swipes. It gave her an alert, and she had something like 4,500 matches or people like, hey, 4,500 people have swiped on you. You know, come check it out or something. Like that. It was an astronomical number, whatever it is.
Should
And all
just
the guys, of
make it
course,
in
all the guys
of
on
our
Reddit were
photos.
like, I'm like on there 24 hours a fucking day, and I never get a match on anything.
Yeah.
The most swipeable woman
Yeah.
ever. That's incredible.
So, the question is like, if they, I don't know, which was which, Barbara? Which was which on that? Do you know?
Is it right? Is accepted?
Swiping,
Swipe right's like, yeah.
Whatever this swipe, yeah.
swipe right is yes.
Yes, so if
I
you
was
swipe
thinking
right-
of the Tinder trailer we did.
I just wonder if like women when they swipe right, if like what's their percentage for getting a match just by swiping right?
I don't know.
You know, I guess you
You're-
could be getting someone who hasn't even seen your profile yet. I don't know how it works.
You're in a unique position.
I'm fascinated
too, where,
by
like,
it.
yeah. What would you think if like you found out somewhere out there in the verse, it's like, Bernie, I have your baby's here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's it. Like, go for it.
What's that?
I'm just saying, like, if someone came out there and was like, "Hey, Bernie, I have your baby," like, what do you do?
What do you mean have my baby? Like one of my
yo,
kids?
Yeah, you're a baby mama to someone else out there, like in the.
Oh, like somebody I used to date. They come up and they have a
Yes,
kid that
yeah.
I fathered.
Yeah.
Like a Jon
'Cause
Snow.
You were saying like millennials have had that happen. Like I known at least like 3 people now who've had that happen where they're like, "Yo, I'm a baby mama." Like that's it.
I
You're
just
done.
realized that's how I'm going to explain John Reisinger working at the company from now on. He's my bastard.
He's a
son.
bastard son.
Yeah, he
Or I
really
guess
is
the
Jon
baby,
Snow.
baby daddy is the best.
He's
but
just
yeah.
a bastard son
Yes.
that I have to
He's just a
employ.
bastard.
God.
But yeah, no, I mean I like kids a lot, you know, and it's I could never be the kind of parent who would be like a distant parent. I just couldn't do that. So it would definitely be life changing to say the least. Hope to God they would live in the state of Texas.
Right.
Otherwise, you're like on a plane all the time
Yeah,
doing stuff.
and you already have 2 as well, so you have to deal with that. And then
Yeah.
a separate family. Now, how do we bring them in? Do we make them like friends or just keep it separate?
Yeah,
or, I don't know.
it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. I mean, their mom remarried pretty quick after we split.
Yeah.
So we kind of crossed those bridges of like, hey, when you introduce kids to people and all that stuff, and it's like, you know, our whole focus. I was fortunate where my split. A lot of people say they're amicable. You know, they usually say with breakups. You don't always say that with divorces. You know, sometimes divorces get awful.
Hey, I
but
know that game.
we actually, I would say my ex and I get along better as co-parents as we ever did as being married. And yeah, so our whole focus is just, it's all about the kids. It's all about focusing on what the kids and what the kids do and everything like that.
Right.
And there's weird aspects to divorce, which are, especially for the way we do it, it's like we used to have someone who would help us watch the boys whenever we'd go off and do something. Well, Jordan and I don't go off and do anything anymore. So our kids are with one of us literally 100% of the time. Like they're never, like even like grandparents and stuff are like, hey, you know, I used to like spend more time with them. You know, it's like now it's like, oh, it's like the moment we get a chance to spend some time with them, we're off.
Going to.
Yeah, and doing that stuff. So
yeah. Well, we're lucky that my parents are close by. So they actually are babysitting. Like they're taking care of Iris right now. So,
Such a
like, when I get to
blessing.
go, hey, here you go. Like, you know, we don't want to be the dicks who are like,
first
here you go,
kid in your
grandparents,
generation?
like, in my family.
In your
yeah,
family, in
yeah.
your generation?
Yeah, my
That's
family, we
huge,
have 3
too.
nephews, but they're
Okay.
all boys. So that's the first granddaughter on their side of the family. So they're also elated about that. Yeah.
So in your family, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have 1 sister.
Okay, I have 1 sister.
Yeah, 6 years younger than me.
And so no kids.
Nope.
So on your side of the family, this is the first kiddo in that generation.
Yes, and we only have 1 boy cousin who's like the saving grace of the family. Like you're going to carry on the lineage, but he doesn't isn't dating anyone, or I don't think he wants kids at all. So it's just us right now.
See, that's so funny to me because my family's the exact opposite. Where in my generation of my family, there's like 12 kids, 1 girl.
Really?
Yep, that's it.
That's Michael's family. It's all guys. So we're like, we had no idea what was gonna we had no idea what Iris was gonna be. We're like, we don't know, but like, you know, we wanted a daughter for a while. Michael wanted a daughter, and luckily, like, we kind of joke that we willed her into existence. So maybe that is the case. But no, we just got lucky. So we have a daughter. We're very happy about that. But I think both sides of the family are happy because, again, this is the first granddaughter or grandchild at all on my side of the family. And then for his, it's like, first granddaughter. You're like, okay, there's some, you know, stereotypical differences between the genders. So they're excited about that.
Yeah.
Iris can be whatever she wants. That's fine.
Yeah, man.
I told Lindsay early on in her pregnancy that I thought it was going to be a girl. Like,
Yes.
wait, I think before you guys even got the...
We had some guesses too. And Jeff guessed it was a girl too also. Yeah.
I looked at you, I was like, it's a girl. It's going to be a girl. And you're like, we'll see.
Maybe. We're very happy. We just were convinced that it was going to be a boy because Michael's family was boys. And we're like, all right, just accept that it's a guy. That's fine. Whatever. Happy baby. But then when we found out it was a girl, we're like, okay, now we can kind of indulge in like, yes, like we kind of wanted this. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Some dreams do come true. Hooray.
Yeah. You know, and as we go forward and things progress, things change, and the things we talk about change as well. But one of the first experiences I had with like people just starting to discuss gender, and because you know, it's not something that when I was growing up, it was pretty solid, pretty linear, you know.
Yes.
And I remember you guys did a gender reveal, and there was like negative feedback from. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah. Well, even then, we specifically said we're like, this is a sex reveal. We understand that, like, you know, again later on, if she says, hey, I feel like I identify as this gender, we say, okay, whatever. Like, I could not care less. Do what you want. So we want to be specific of like, as this baby is born, this is what her physical sex is. This is what her anatomy is displaying. So that's what we're going to say she is for now. If she decides that she does not identify as that later, A-okay. But even then, that wasn't enough for people. And I feel like the biggest complaint I got was, you shouldn't be talking about your baby's genitals because it's too sexual. Like, now we're entering a realm of pedophilia that shouldn't be discussed. I was like, I don't understand.
Don't project that. God.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I feel
no
like
one's thinking that but you.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
Take a moment to pause and reflect on that.
Yeah, you're being kind of creepy.
Yeah.
And too, like, I mean, like any baby's gonna have some form of genitalia. I feel like we should be able to discuss this and not be weird about it. It felt very similar to like people who yelled at me about advertising for the vagina monologues in college, and they were like, "Don't swear." I'm like, "Is vagina a swear word? Like, are we at that point now where you can't say penis without being like, oh my virgin ears? Oh my god,
Really?
Like, don't say it." Yeah, it was weird. Yeah.
Well, you also, how do you deal with negative feedback? Because you're also in a unique position because you're one of the first females we ever put on camera specifically with our gameplay stuff. And that is, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's notoriously a very difficult place for females to establish themselves in those realms. Not ours in particular, but just gameplay in general.
No,
it's like this weird uphill battle. And, you know, Ashley, you know, she came into the pro gaming route, and, you know, specifically with the Frag Dolls, you know, she had it from, I watched Screensavers on Tech TV, was this old TV show, and they were on there, and it was so crazy to hear them talk about the way, like Kevin Pereira and Kevin Rose of Dig, they were talking to Morgan about the Frag Dolls and their mission. It was like, they were saying things like, yeah, but, you know, girls also do play games, and one day, you know, that won't be a big deal to people, and we're, you know, getting our message out there. And it's like, and everything Kevin Pereira was asking was like, but do you like really play games and all this stuff?
Like,
it was so crazy.
right.
It's like, this seems like it's from 1955, and it was like 2008.
Here we are, for sure. Well, I think even just in my, like, compared to my childhood to now, it's like, I feel like nerd culture as a whole has become so much more mainstream. Whereas, like,
I agree with that.
I grew up in Dallas, and knowing, like, loving anime and video games, people were like, okay, loser, like, get out of here, whatever. Have fun at your Akon. It's like, okay, bye. But
I called the table that we would go to discuss video games in middle school. I said we were less popular than the Masturbators Club.
Oh,
it's
nice.
Like it was like 5 of us that would go and talk about video games.
See, we had the Yu-Gi-Oh table where you play the Yu-Gi-Oh cards in the back of the cafeteria.
Brag about it. Wow,
we hang out there. Yeah. But that's why I love, like, meeting people nowadays who are involved in their culture. They say, wow, like, I feel like this is so much more mainstream, and I'm so much more accepted than I would have been growing up with you, which is totally true. So we get the luxury of kind of being a little bit more mainstream, and now, like, you know, people get to accept video gaming, but it's totally true. And Ashley has spoken about that before with me, saying, as a female in the industry representing video games as a whole, it's like, you got to know so much more than your male counterparts, or be able to back up, like, any opinion that you have with an infinite amount of evidence, so that you can be able to say, like, hey, I also am educated on this subject. And, like, by all means, I'm by far not a good video game player at all. But like, it is very difficult to even come in and say, hey, I'm an achievement hunter. They're like, okay, cool. Like, well, what do you play? Let's go down like the interview slot of like what we have for you. I'm like, okay, I just like playing video games. Calm down. But there is somewhat of a stigma for women, especially, and I feel like it's shitty, but we're overcoming it, and we're so close to it. I feel like we're so close to the equality that we want to achieve.
Yeah. It's just like to watch it take place, and you like try to guide people in the right direction, but you can't really do that.
Yeah,
it's like with an audience. I mean, you could just say certain things.
Well, luckily, I feel like before it was like, no, you're not a part of this. Now it's like, okay, you're a part of it, but how much of a part of it are you? And you're like, okay, now I can kind of like dance around your questions a little bit and try and answer as much as I can. So. Now it feels like a weird interview process.
Yeah.
Like, I want the job. Well, let me answer for you. Here you go.
It's like there's a process of like earning it that other people
a little bit.
Don't have to go through, Yeah. And we one of my favorite parts of my job now is developing new talent, like finding people. Like one of my favorite experiences in the company, of course, Gavin and Barbara coming from the community and now becoming, two of the biggest faces in the history of Rooster Teeth. And then like I always love the example of Blaine when I walked in, and like the moment I saw Blaine, I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, he had a headset, he was an intern.
I still ask that question.
And I was like, exactly. And I was like, all right, we're gonna put this guy on camera. The first day I ever saw him, I just told him, you can't work here on camera. I go, you're too good looking to work here. So sorry, you seem nice.
I love that idea. You're too good looking to work here. It's like, what? Like in production?
What are we, chop liver?
Yeah, no, but it's one of those things where developing talent, develop a lot of male and female talent over the course of my career here at Rooster Teeth. And I say, it's like, it's super simple to be a woman on camera on the internet. You just have to be funny and pretty and smart and fashionable and not
know everything about everything.
It. Yeah.
Perfect shape, perfect hair,
right.
Perfect makeup.
Well, we were just
not have an opinion.
That's it. Yeah. That's the formula. Just do all that. You'll be perfectly fine, right? So.
We were just talking about Jessica Negri specifically about like she gets so much shit for saying like, oh, you just have big boobs or you're fancy, like you're pretty, so you're popular. There you go. I'm like, well, if that were the case, wouldn't there be like a million Jessica Negris going to conventions with their big boobs and like looking fancy? It's like she's famous because of the work she puts into her cosplay and her networking. And I guarantee if you watch a video of her compiling her cosplay, you will absolutely take a second to yourself and go, wow, like I can't do that, because she's very talented and she hones in on that. Could you be using your physical traits to like enhance your abilities or like increase networking opportunities? Sure. But at the end of the day, you have to have some talent to back it up. So.
Yeah. Well, also it's like I've always hated when people will call out other people for doing like sexy photos or something like that. Just because to me, it's like, yeah, but that's what people are looking at. They were going out and finding that. it's like, it's almost like I say no one ever stops and says to like anybody, the achievement hunter first, like, guys, you guys act like you're dumb. Don't act like you're dumb. You guys are all smart. It's like, what? Dumb's funny, it's
that's
like
the point.
Guys will get called out for being dumb or broy or
like with the achievement hunter too.
Swearing.
Like there's so many times, swearing. I'll get
drinking.
called out for that. They're like, oh wow, like way to be ladylike. I'm like, I'm with a bunch of guys that talk about dicks 24/7, but the second I mention a vagina, it's weird. Like whatever, okay. Like it's just me adding to the content. I feel like we have the same sense of humor, so who cares? Yeah, gender's not really an issue here. It's just the style of humor really is the most important part.
Women also get compared to each other in any video that they're in together. Whereas like no one will be like, oh, who's hotter, Bernie or Gus? But like if you have two women,
let's talk about that. Hopefully
Bernie,
that's a short discussion. Come on,
Bernie Burns for sure. I'd like that raise, please. Thank you. Well, we talked about that before. Where like any video that Barbara and I are in, there's always like people going like, oh, who's hotter, Barbara or Lindsay? I'm like, okay, for us, we don't give a shit. One, like Barbara and I are here to work and try and like work whatever connection we have because we're trying to be professional about this. And two, there's really no benefit to us trying to like antagonize each other or become this competition. It's like we're only benefiting from each other being successful. So why on earth would we turn it into this weird competition that we have? It's like,
or else see comments like, clearly so-and-so doesn't like so-and-so. It's like, no, that's just what you're trying to make up in your head because you want there to be competition.
Like, no.
It's just like the weirdest thing. Like,
but let me challenge you guys on this. Have you not experienced where there are women that will cut down other women, mainly because those spots are more limited, at least the perception that they're more limited?
But I think that's also somewhat of like they're trained, and I hate to say it, but like there is a way that society kind of trains them to do that, of saying
the perception that's limited opportunity. Yeah.
You have to prove that you are the most attractive female, you are the one that they want, that is why. And especially again with like a lot of male audience members, they're saying, okay, who's the best female of Achievement or Rooster Teeth? It's like, again, who gives a shit? There's so many different people. Like Barbara's not the same as me at all, or like Ashley, same thing. Very, very different people. So why do we have to keep comparing each other? It'd be very boring if there were only one woman here at Rooster Teeth.
Yeah.
So.
Be weird to start always open if I wanted to hide the other women at the company away.
Yeah, get out of here.
Let me not feature all the amazing, funny, talented women at this
Yeah,
company.
it's funny too because even if you look at like Reddit, there's like the subreddits that don't talk about Rooster Teeth. If there's a subject talked about or in other subreddits about Rooster Teeth personalities, it's typically about the women. I mean, even our female personalities have their own subreddits. There's several of them, and none of our male personalities have that at all.
Nope.
You know, and former personalities like Ray, but you know, that's like Ray formerly had a personality.
I frequent the Chris Damaris subreddit personally.
Yeah. What's up, Barbs?
I said I frequent the Chris Damaris subreddit.
Oh, nice.
Is there one?
Nah, probably not. I was trying to
We were talking about Chris's baby face, right? That he's tapped into the genetic lotto win.
I have no idea how old he is.
Yeah, he looks like he could easily be like 15 or 40. It really doesn't matter.
And when he opens his mouth, it doesn't help. It's not like you're gonna figure it out that way.
What was it? The Martin Freeman effect. It's like, okay, you got this youthful glow, but you're older. So what's happening here?
Yep. No idea.
Yeah.
He's the most what's the word? Where you just can't place an age on him.
Yeah. Well, it's just like
Timeless.
Michael too. At our wedding, our DJ was like, "So how old is your husband?" I'm like, "He's older than me." He's like, "Oh, I thought he was like 20." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Not dating a 20-year-old." Thank you, though.
Hey, can I clarify something about your wedding?
Yes.
Too?
No, what's up? Now I gotta know what's up.
So there's an RTAA where I was trying to convince Monty.
Not to cut my cake.
Or I was trying to convince him to cut your cake.
Oh, you were trying to do it. They make him do it
Because I thought if anybody would not know what a breach of etiquette that would be Monty.
Because he thought it would
you
be
do
okay.
know I would never have let him cut
I was
the
gonna
cake.
say I watched that and I was like, interesting. Okay. No.
Monty was. You guys were outside taking pictures, which is always this lull in a wedding ceremony between the actual ceremony. The wedding party goes outside to take photos, and that takes a while. So all the guests are just milling around, usually drinking or whatever. But Monty was done with hors d'oeuvres. He's like, "I'm still hungry." I'm like, "Well, there's some cake right over there." And he goes, "Oh," he goes, "Can we have that cake?" I go, "Well, that's what it's there for." Okay. I go, "Just cut yourself off a piece." He goes, "Okay." And he started walking, and his wife Sheena was like, "What's wrong?"
You're like, no.
He points at me like I'm a bad influence.
Totally missed that happening.
Like traditionally, yes, I would have been like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
I would have never have. I wouldn't
Monty,
have let him do it,
though,
right?
Like, I guess I would have been like, "It's fucking Monty."
But
Like,
you know that if Sheena hadn't stopped him, I would not have let him cut the cake.
Yeah,
Okay.
you're a
guys
man
would
of
have come back
tradition
in.
too.
He's just there with his plate.
That motherfucker.
I will admit though that I did text Gavin in the middle of the ceremony, like, "Hey, turn off your phone."
That's great.
When I texted him,
I appreciate that.
but he had turned it all the way off already,
Good.
so he never even got it till later. So.
Again, if Monty took a piece of the cake, I would have been like, "Fucking Monty, doing what he does." I'm sure. On with the ceremony. Monty does whatever he wants.
No.
He did whatever he wanted.
Yeah, he definitely did. And it's funny because we were just talking the other day about I had to do an interview. We were talking about the first time we ever heard about the show Ruby, and I'll let for the interview to come out to tell the story for me. But it was interesting because I was thinking about that. When Monty was first, and everybody had a different point at which they heard it. What was the first time you guys heard about Ruby? What about you, Lindsay? What about?
I mean, we talked about it before, but it's like literally the first time Monty came up to us and said, "I had this idea for a show called Ruby," and we went, "All right, what is that?" He was like, "I want Little Red Riding Hood and Beauty and the Beast and Goldilocks and Snow White to hang out with each other." And I was like, "Cool. What does that mean?" And then Monty just spewed for like hours about everything he'd planned for the show, like seasons upon seasons, and what he wants this character to do. I'm like, "Oh my God, you've thought so like in depth about this. Like, let's actually make the show first. Let's make sure this happens." But yeah, again, like we've talked about that before. Like Monty.
I had a million conversations like that, which is like, so well in season 7, it's like season 1. We're working on season 1. Let's get through season 1.
He was the keeper of the Bible of the whole show. He knew everything he wanted to happen.
Thank God he talked about it so much.
For me, I was there late at night one day. And I was at my desk, and he came over, and he looks at me, and he goes, "How do you feel about playing Goldilocks?" And I'm like, "In what? Like, who is this? What are you talking about?" He's like, "I want to make like a badass Goldilocks, and I want you to play her." And I'm like, "Cool. Whatever you want me to do, Monty."
Well, the crazy thing was too is like we talked so much about the characters and everything that when it came time to do casting, we ended up casting all internally, and I had. Lindsay, no idea that you had the talent that you have as a voice actress.
Thanks,
and when I first heard the Ruby voice, I'm like, who is this? It's like I didn't know who we got to do it. And can you talk a little bit about your process for doing the voice for Ruby?
Sure. I mean, I loved anime since 7th grade. I'm still a huge anime fan. So I grew up like 10 minutes away from Funimation, and I thought, wow, that'd be awesome to do voiceover, but I never thought it would happen. I'm like, that's a pipe dream that's, non-existent. Don't even think about it. Just apply for a job like normal. So I applied for Rooster Teeth. Again, just normal way. Like, hey, I heard you have an opening. Thanks, guys. I'll intern my way up. So then Monty approached us about Ruby, and I said, wow, that's
You didn't sound anything like that.
Oh, yeah, no. I was like, hey, have some eggs. Enjoy this, buddy. But yeah, Monty said, I want to make an anime. And I went, wow, that's awesome. Like, we're huge anime fans. I never thought that would actually be a thing. And your fan base never really had anime involved before. So we thought, okay, maybe the fan base might not like it, or like, Eastern audiences might go like, fuck you, America, if we're making an anime inspired show.
Definitely
you're not
concerned.
one of us.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that sounds awesome, but I don't know if it's going to be successful. And then, here we are so many years later, and we have this huge following in Japan. Like, we're doing a dub and everything. Like, it's nuts. But before, it was just like, again, like a huge, huge pipe dream that I never thought would happen. And as far as voice acting goes, it's just, I was doing impressions of other characters and trying to work with what would work well. And I threw it out there and I said, I hope they like it. And then we did the table read, and it sounds like you guys enjoyed the sound of the characters. So that was all I could have hoped for.
Yeah, it was incredible. And the show, when we first made it, it was probably, I think at that time, it was the second most expensive production that we'd ever produced. This is when I owned the company, so it was like investing all this money into it.
Well, there were only like 4 animators at that point. One of them was Monty, was the main guy.
Oh yeah, no, Monty did so much heavy lifting, especially on like all the trailers that we did, all the individual shorts, and it was a huge investment, total belief in Monty and what he wanted to do and the team that he was building, and the people won't remember this, but the first season not that well received. Like, nope. And also it was like people for a long time, and I'm almost hesitant to bring it up because I'm glad I never read it anymore. But there was a debate over whether or not Ruby could be considered an anime, and it was not an anime.
Oh yeah, there was a huge thing on Reddit.
It was banned from Ruby discussion.
On the top of the anime subreddit, there was a giant thing in big bold letters that said, "Ruby is not an anime. We will not discuss Ruby here. Any posts involving Ruby will be deleted." And we're like, all right, like, I guess now we're starting controversy. That's cool. Like, we're getting our name in there, kind of fucking shit up. Like, we'll see what happens.
And then we get imported in Japan, get we go the opposite route, get a full Japanese voice cast dubbing over it.
Yeah, some A-list voice actors from Japan who've been in, like, again, many, many anime titles that I've watched since I was a kid. And
Freak out a little bit?
A little bit. We talked about that the day of, where they sent us the voice cast for Japan.
Yeah, I was going crazy with all those anime voice actors that I know all of their names and work that they've done.
Yes. There were a few times where we're like, Barbara, this is so-and-so. And you're like, that's good, right? We're like, yeah, that's good. Yes.
Like, I know that all I know is that the girl who plays Yang was the main character in Kill la Kill. And that is apparently a very big show and a huge deal.
Huge. Yeah. Everyone we had voice
the other characters as well.
For Ruby in Japan is like, again, A-list, top-of-the-line voice actor. So to hear that we were being dubbed by people like that, again, is like, holy shit, that's so surreal as an anime fan.
And I wonder too if like there'll be people who watch it in Japan, and it's like, here, otaku culture, you watch it. If you watch it in Japanese with English subtitles, that's the way you're supposed to watch it.
There you go.
I wonder if there's people here who will watch it in English with Japanese subtitles. Like, if that'll be like the purest way to watch the show.
I saw fans that were saying like, oh, I can finally watch it now. This is in Japanese. I'm like, but that's so interesting because there is that stigma of like sub versus dubbed in anime, of like, oh no, subbed is better because it's Japanese. But I'm like, well, I think you only feel that way because you don't understand the language. So to you, that sounds like the perfect performance, but the English actor could be perfectly replicating what the Japanese voice actor is doing. It's just you think English is bad for some odd reason. And now we're on the opposite end of the coin. We're like, they talked about doing a Chinese dub. They said, okay, would China be interested in doing a dub in Chinese? And they said, no, we want the English voice actors because they prefer that over Chinese. I'm like, oh, it's so interesting that's like, it kind of happens the world around, I guess. Yeah.
We were talking before this that most of a lot of the traditional American superheroes are now played by British actors.
Yeah.
Because Tom Holland, good-looking fellow, Tom Holland. Yeah.
Glad you're a fan too.
British kid, Chris Hemsworth. I guess Thor's not, makes sense because Thor's not necessarily American. But it's crazy. It is crazy, though. I guess even Nordic person being played by an Australian. But yeah, it's crazy how many British actors play American superheroes. But most people don't know that they're British in any way.
Well, covering. Well, like, I don't know the actor's name, but Carl from Walking Dead. Or not Carl, his father, Rick. is also
Rick.
British. Yeah, or Welsh. One of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name, and I can't think of his name.
Yeah. Also, again, like fantastic southern drawl. I guess. He's
Patrick,
really good
who's
with
the
it.
guy who plays Rick on Walking Dead? Anybody? Andrew what? Lincoln. Andrew Lincoln. Thanks for nothing, fuckers. All right.
Ellie had it. It was on
Yeah,
the
he was
cover
in like
of the
Love
I saw it.
Actually. He's the dude holding the cards at the end of Love
That's
Actually.
right. That is him.
That's Rick.
No shit.
And then
Yeah,
he's got
I
his
forgot
like
about
southern
that.
thing. So Ellie, I have a question for you. If you want to jump in here, is I have a theory that the reason why British actors can play an American accent and it's totally believable is because Britain probably has the highest concentration of accents in the smallest area possible. So like your accent is what?
We have the most regional accents, I think, of any country.
Like what's your accent?
Mine would just be RP, Southern.
What's RP mean?
I think it means
Role play?
royal pronunciation.
Royal pronunciation?
Royal
I think that's what it actually means, or something like that. That's just to say like a blanket normal accent.
Okay. Again, going back to like American stereotypes, is you sound like Julie Andrews to me.
Oh,
That's it. Like
so
straight
much.
up.
Right, your
So-
accent's similar to Riot's a little bit.
She's
that
south, like more South
similar?
London, I think.
More, there you go. See, she's more South London. It's just like there's London, there's South London, there's Manchester.
Well, I actually grew up in Kent, where most people do not speak like me.
How do they speak?
That's like, so apparently Chatham in Kent is where like the term chav originated.
Oh, really?
Oh,
So that's
chavs,
where you
yes.
get the like, all right, mate, yeah, whatever.
Sweatsuits. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, see, that's the thing, is that I think because people grow up in the UK, they grow up with this inherent ability to imitate other English accents, that doing an American they already have so much practice doing other accents that it's more believable. Whereas Americans, we don't have that. We basically have Southern and then the rest of America. Maybe
Yeah.
New York.
I mean,
When it's
Northeast
bad,
is
Jersey.
the most
Bad.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Boston, New Jersey, and New York. But I can't. They all sound the same to me. So
Benedict Cumberbatch's was terrible for Doctor Strange. He's like, what have you done to my hands?
Penguin.
Penguin.
do you have influence from other countries too? Because Riot was saying she has family members from Germany and they influence her accent too. So I don't know if you have the same. Yeah.
No, but I definitely am like, I'm a parrot. If I go to another English-speaking country, I very quickly find myself changing the way I speak. And
I find I change the
Yeah.
cadence.
yeah.
Like I match the cadence of whatever. Like
Yeah,
Ireland.
we did
I
that
said
as a theater
YouTube,
student
and my
too.
sister-
Yeah.
Yeah, theater has
YouTube,
ruined
yeah.
me. If I talk to anyone with an accent, I start to emulate it, and I'm like, I'm not making fun of you. I'm so sorry. This is just natural. It's gonna happen. So I apologize, Ellie, if I've talked to you like a
I
British
think
person.
it's some people do that out of like a courtesy that they don't realize that they're doing. Like
Yeah.
it's to make other people feel more comfortable by emulating the way they speak.
Well, it's how we all learn to speak.
Yeah.
Is by just emulating what we
Copying.
hear, you know?
Yeah.
Well,
that's
usually-
why accents get passed on, right?
The worst for me is when I talk to females who are very hyper and energetic. They're like, "Oh my god, I'm so excited to see you." I'm like, "Wow, yeah. Oh my god, we're here right now. We are in front of each other. Wow. Okay."
So I have a thing. I think I've talked about the podcast before, but I have a thing where my Southern accent. I've lived in Texas now for most of my life, well over most of my life, and the only time I have a Southern accent is when I'm surrounded by other like good old boys, basically. So when I worked in the telecom industry, happened all the time. Or very specifically, if I ever go to buy a car, I have a Southern accent. And Ashley pointed it out to me, and I'm like, yeah, I this always happens.
Do you think
to
it's
me.
more intimidating?
Them good old
No,
boys.
it's more friendly. It's more like kind of just like part of the group.
I
you
can
know?
feel you, especially as a female going to a repair shop where you're like, okay, I kind of like have to make sure that instantly people know that I know what I'm talking about. So I'm like, all right, look, here's my Ford Edge. I got this over here. It was the 2011. It's a silver. It's over here. And they're like, okay, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
all right. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It breaks down the barrier of like, okay, you know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, like weird sexism for me.
I'm
Yeah.
fixing to buy a car.
Yeah,
It's funny
exactly.
because Robbie Kay, who plays the main character in Bloodfest, is British.
Yeah?
But he's playing an American kid.
What kind of British? Southampton?
What flavor
What
of British?
flavor? I don't know. He kind of sounds like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just regular Southern.
Regular.
But see, it's one of those
Not
things like
Northern.
because you probably met a lot of people with those accents. Like, yeah, we have the Jersey accent, we have the Boston accent here for regional dialects. But growing up as a kid in Texas, I didn't run into people from Boston. It's like half a world away. You know, this country's so big. But this is all like just the UK.
There are towns in Yorkshire that are next to each other that have different accents.
Really?
What's
Wow.
wrong with you? What's happening?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That would have
How
blown my
that
mind.
happened.
Again, I talk to Mike all the time about like I do an accent. And he's like, "That's New York." Okay, calm down, honey. I'm like, it's all the same to me. It's the same shit. Like I don't know. You hold your I's a little bit. You don't say your R's. That's like in Northeast for me. So I don't know if it's the same for you or there's like specific things you can point out that you're like, that's what we do the that's different than everybody else.
It's true. But people in New York can do Jersey accents and they can do like Brooklyn and stuff like that. It's if they understand because they're all right there around each other. You know?
For us, it's like,
Yeah.
Well, you can
Close
do
enough.
like the main difference between Southern and Northern English is just how you do your vowels. So that's like your North, your Jon Snow, and all that.
Jon Snow.
Yeah, Gavin
Snore.
makes fun of my R's. Was it when Gavin does his American accent? It's very heavy R. He's like, the fire brush is over there.
Water.
Water.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to do that now at restaurants. If I'm like, excuse me, can I get a water? People are like, what? And now I'm just like, can I get a water? Like, water. I have to do it.
I do the same thing. It's so weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta
I'm
say it like you're really lazy.
Water. And they're like, what? And I'm like, ugh, water.
Yeah,
Thank you.
say it like you're really lazy and you're too good to be here right now. Hi, can I have some water?
Water.
Thank
Can
you.
I get some water?
Okay.
I'm like really parched.
Or just I hear people are rude to waiters and waitresses when it's just like they just look at them and they go water.
Yeah.
And that's it's like come,
Dude,
it's a person.
you've asked me before this show, you're like, what's something that would piss you off that we could talk about? I'm like, that specifically is something that pisses me off is people being rude to wait staff. And I've seen that before where they're like, I want this. No, thank you. No, please. No, nothing. I'm like, motherfucker, this person's been waiting on you all night. You say thank you or something.
I have a lot of
All
thoughts on
right?
this. Let's save that for the post show. We're about to
Yeah,
wrap
like-
up here. Let's definitely that'll be our topic for the post show. We'll be talking about rudeness in public, especially with waiters and waitresses.
Yes.
You two, one last question though on accents before we wrap it up for tonight.
What's up,
Canadian
Anime
and
Dad?
English. Is there any words that you have changed your pronunciation of because you're just sick of being called out on it?
Yes.
Aluminum?
A boot?
Many things. Against.
Yeah. What do you? how do you
adult?
I used to say against.
against?
Oh.
Yeah.
And Tuesday.
Hmm.
I used to say Tuesday.
Do you still say adult?
I do say adult.
Nice.
That's
I
something
say
that I get
adult
me
now.
Adult? Yeah.
So now I say adult.
Yeah.
I say Tuesday and I say against.
I say YouTube. And the other day my sister was like, no.
YouTube.
See, I like the British YouTube.
YouTube.
YouTube happens in
Yeah.
Tuesday.
Now I'm just like, oh, I work for a YouTube company because it's just easier.
Yeah. There you go. That's right, yeah.
YouTube. I work for the
By
internet.
the way, RP means received pronunciation.
There you go.
Received pronunciation. Okay.
Oh.
Nice.
So the schedule though, you're sticking with schedule.
I
We
stick
talk
with
about
schedule.
schedules a
Schedule
lot.
school.
And
It
you
sounds cooler.
diary instead of calendar.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually keeps my diary. It's just
See, that
like,
just sounds too personal.
today I talked to a boy. You know, he was nice to me.
Put it
Was
on
it
my
Full Frontal
diary.
Snogging? What's the book? I can't remember. It's like
Oh.
Agnes something and Full Frontal Snogging.
Oh,
yeah.
Thongs.
Songs and full
Yes,
frontal
yeah.
snogging.
That's it.
Just like that. I kissed a boy. It was great.
That's Bernie's diary.
That is, she got it. That's all the entries that she
The-
makes for
He
me.
tried to get into my twat and I said no.
All right. Hey, Lindsay, it was cool to hang out with you
Thank
for an
you.
hour. Thanks for coming out.
No
Thanks,
problem.
everybody, for joining us for the Special Thursday
Thanks for having me.
podcast brought to you by the Rooster Teeth Store. Check out the Rooster Teeth Store, everybody. If you like our work and want to support it, that is probably the best way to do that. All right. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And stick around if you're a first member for the post show.
Bye.
We don't.